a couple things about Rexroth from my book. An academic critic once sarcastically referred to Rexroth, Gary Snyder, and Philip Whalen as, quote, members of the bear shit on the trail school of poetry. Rexroth, of course, took this as a compliment. He often spent months at a time in the woods and mountains, and quite a few of his poems reflect his experiences there. And I'm going to read one of those in just a minute that actually was written right in this area. And then I go on. So many of his love poems take place in nature that after a reading he was once asked, "Mr. Rexroth, don't you ever make love indoors?" And so the second poem I'm going to read is Making Love in a Canoe. So here's the first one. It's called The Signature of All Things. And this was written, if you all have ever been to Devil's Gulch, that's across the road there, and I think down a mile or two, I'm not sure, but it's kind of near here in Samuel P. Taylor Park. And back before it was a park, I don't know what it was, just wild country or something. Rexroth, who lived in San Francisco, would come over to Marin County from time to time and roam around. And once in the late 20s, he came upon this little cabin. And it was abandoned, nobody was living there. And it was kind of a mystery where it came from. Maybe it was some workers lived there while they were doing something. Nobody ever knew, I don't think. So he would come back there, for a weekend or a week or something when he couldn't get away longer to the Sierras. And this poem was written there, and you'll see it's in different parts. The first part of it is referring to a little pool over there that you can see near a waterfall. That's, I forget what's the waterfall called?
Staircase Falls.
Staircase Falls. Yeah. So you can see that. If you see Staircase Falls, you're very near where the cabin used to be, although there's nothing left of it now. So here is this poem, Signature of All Things. My head and shoulders, and my book in the cool shade, and my body stretched bathing in the sun, I lie reading beside the waterfall. Boehme's Signature of All Things. Boehme was a German mystic. Through the deep July days, the leaves of the laurel, all the colors of gold, spin down through the moving deep laurel shade all day. They float on the mirrored sky and forest for a while, and then, still slowly spinning, sink through the crystal deep of the pool to its leaf gold floor. The saint, he's referring to Boehme, saw the world as streaming in the electrolysis of love. I put him by and gazed through shade folded into shade of slender laurel trunks and leaves filled with sun. The wren broods in her moss-domed nest. A newt struggles with the white moth, drowning in the pool. The hawks scream, playing together on the ceiling of heaven. The long hours go by. I think of those who have loved me, of all the mountains I have climbed, of all the seas I have swum in. The evil of the world sinks. My own sin and trouble fall away like Christian's bundle. It's like out of Pilgrim's Progress. And I watch my 40 summers fall like falling leaves and falling water, held eternally in summer air. Deer are stamping in the glades. This is part 2. Under the full July moon, there is a smell of dry grass in the air, and more faintly the scent of a far-off skunk. As I stand at the wood's edge, watching the darkness, listening to the stillness, a small owl comes to the branch above me, on wings more still than my breath. When I turn my light on him, his eyes glow like drops of iron, and he perks his head at me like a curious kitten. The meadow is bright as snow. My dog prowls the grass, a dark blur in the blur of brightness. I walk to the oak grove where the Indian village was once. There, in blotched and cobwebbed light, and dark, dim in the blue haze, are 20 Holstein heifers, black and white, all lying down quietly together under the huge trees rooted in the graves. Part 3. When I dragged the rotten log from the bottom of the pool, it seemed heavy as stone. I let it lie in the sun for a month, and then chopped it into sections, and split them into kindling, and spread them out to dry some more. Late that night, after reading for hours, while moths rattled at the lamp, the saints and the philosophers on the destiny of man, I went out on my cabin porch and looked up through the black forest at the swaying islands of stars. Suddenly I saw at my feet, spread on the floor of night, ingots of quivering phosphorescence, and all about were scattered chips of pale, cold light that was alive. That last, by the way, it's kind of a mystical thing, but it's actually a biological thing too. I think there's some kind of fungus in trees that makes them glow in that kind of situation. So here's the one you've all been waiting for. It's called Floating. And when he mentions a few titles of songs or poems in the middle, these are like medieval love songs, that kind of thing. Our canoe idles in the idling current of the tree and vine and rush-enclosed backwater of a torpid Midwestern stream, revolves slowly and lodges in the glutted water lilies. We are tired of paddling. All afternoon we have climbed the weak current, up dim meanders, through woods and pastures, past muddy fords where the strong smell of cattle lay thick across the water, singing the songs of perfect habitual motion, ski songs, night-herding songs, songs of the capstan walk, the levee, the roll of the voyageurs. Tired of motion, of the rhythms of motion, tired of the sweet play of our interwoven strength, we lie in each other's arms and let the palps of water lily and petal hold back all motion in the heat-thickened, drowsing air. Sing to me softly, western wind. Ah, the sighs. Mon cœur se recommande à vous. Fabi claro. Sing the wandering erotic melodies of men and women gone 700 years. Softly, your mouth close to my cheek. Let our thighs lie entangled on the cushions. Let your breasts in their thin cover hang pendant against my naked arms and throat. Let your odorous hair fall across our eyes. Kiss me with those subtle, melodic lips. As I undress you, your pupils are black, wet, immense, and your skin ivory and humid. Move softly. Move hardly at all. part your thighs. Take me slowly while our gnawing lips fumble against the humming blood in our throats. Move softly. Do not move at all, but hold me deep, still, deep within you, while time slides away as this river slides beyond this lily bed, and the thieving moments fuse and disappear in our mortal, timeless flesh. Thank you.